My name is Clare.Davies. I work as an associate curator in the Department of Modern and Contemporary Art at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. My focus is on art of the 19th, 20th, and now 21st centuries in the Middle East, North Africa, and Turkey. Clare.Davies is someone who has always felt like a bit of an outsider, maybe also a bit of an insider at the same time, having grown up in the Middle East and then the US. I'm interested in what has been left out of the historical record and why, and what it means to re-engage with that and make it accessible and include it in what museums are doing now, and part of their mission should be that, I believe. What I respect about Mohassess is not only his obvious skills as an artist, but his inability to say anything that's not exactly what's going on in front of him. I think he didn't tolerate any sort of false elaboration. I think Mohassess did not tolerate in his own work the kinds of moments of glossing over, obfuscation that we so often do in everyday life in relationship to power, the everydayness of power. I think he couldn't tolerate that in his art, and so through it we see exactly what was happening in that regard. And I think that's incredibly powerful. And it's also work that just draws you in through the intricacy of its detail, through his obvious sense of humor, his kind of interest in the position of the underdog, his embrace of the human body and its senses and its pains. And I think I respect all of that immensely and love the work. And he also has this amazing community of people who supported him and still do, and who he was an incredibly important figure for not just a generation, but I think even till today, he has a lot to say to contemporary artists. I think every day, you and I and most people go through life glossing over, not even seeing anymore the many moments of negotiation of power that are part of everyday life. And I think one of the things that's so special about Mohassess's work is that he strips that away and forces us to see, the sort of raw, unmediated version of life. I think the first time I came across the work of Mohassess was with regards to the exhibition organized at the Asia Society. It was a revelation to know that this incredible body of work existed. It was hard to find more information on him, and I think that made me more interested in learning who this person was and where he'd come from. And I eventually connected to the group of people who I think support his work and have kept it alive for many years. I do think there is a difference in showing Mohassess's work in New York versus in New Orleans. I can speak to, I think in New York there's a network of people who know his work very well, and that he's been shown there before. There's some foundation for a kind of visibility for his work. In New Orleans, I can't really speak to how it might be received, but I think that his work is fundamentally, wherever it goes, it carries the same message, and I imagine that message ultimately resonates in New York as it does in New Orleans. which is a message about power and humor and survival. Okay, so the body of work that's on view at the gallery that we're in currently belongs to one of the later phases of his work. It's also the group of works from which the first two pieces by Mohassess entered the collection. So the first two works of his to enter the Met were collected by the Islamic Art Department and came from this body of work. I think that what's one of the things that people often forget about Mohassess is that he's many different artists over the course of his career. This last or late phase of his work reflects his a very different style, which was in part informed by his deteriorating health, but I think also was represented a kind of new experience for him in that he had had eye surgery recently and was able to see much better, ironically. So there's a kind of deterioration of health on the one hand and his vision changing on the other. And at the intersection of those two places, we find these works that are much looser, broader, more relaxed in a way, often incorporate color in a way that other pieces didn't, and more gestural. So it's definitely a distinct moment and one that's very interesting in its own right.